Thanks everyone for joining us. Just a little bit of housekeeping first before we start. This session is being recorded and will be available with the question and answer transcript after the meeting. Closed captioning is available using the closed caption button on the Zoom ribbon. And please use the Q&A button on the Zoom ribbon to submit your questions. We will probably hold most of these until the end. We'll have some time set aside for that, but if anything pops up that seems relevant, we may answer that in the middle of the session as well. So again, thanks everyone for joining us today at the session. I'm Adam Sparger. I'm Director of the Transportation Services Division here in AMS. And we're a small shop of economists, primarily focused on assisting stakeholders and policymakers in providing data and analysis on ag transportation. We do this through periodic market reports, such as our weekly, quarterly, and annual publications, as well as we produce and sponsor related research into ag transportation. I think probably our most well-known publication is our weekly grain transportation report. But we've also done some major studies recently in the past few years looking at the inland waterways and the highway system. These are collaborations with the Army Corps of Engineers and Department of Transportation. So about 6 years ago, we started looking into new ways to better assist our shippers, stakeholders, and government policymakers. We wanted to take our data and analysis to the next level and break out from the traditional PDF and Excel-driven approach that we've traditionally defines how government reports are put out. We wanted to create our own open data platform that can provide near real-time analysis into ongoing issues. So in 2019, we first launched AgTransport, which is our open data portal. We did a major expansion of this last year in 2020. And then again, this year, over the summer, we launched our third major expansion with new data sets, dashboards, and digitized reports. And this has proven especially popular and helpful looking into ongoing supply chain disruptions happening this year. Just as an example, yesterday we had a request from the Secretary's office for ag data through the Port of Savannah. In a matter of seconds, I was able to pull up data and visualizations that would have taken us hours to put together previously. And this platform is vast. We cover rail, barge, truck, ocean, bulk, and container movements. A lot of different data and visualizations, a lot of bells and whistles on this platform. So I'm now going to turn this over to Jesse Gastel, who's our senior data ninja warrior, who can help guide you through this much better than I can. So Jesse, please take it away.
Thanks, Adam. Let me just share my screen real quick. Okay, hopefully you can see the slides. So yeah, I'm Jesse Gastel. I'm an economist in the Transportation Services Division under Adam. I just want to start off saying thanks for being here. Thanks for this opportunity and thanks for your time. We're really excited about the open data platform. And so we're excited to get to show it to you, show you the things we've created on there, but then also hopefully show you what I think will be a valuable product for many of you. So what I wanted to do today is start off kind of just talking at a general level about what our goals were and how we approach the platform, but then I'll jump over to the platform itself, our website, and just walk you through some of the stuff we've made and walk you through some of the features to kind of show off what it can do. So we'd appreciate any of your questions and any of your feedback. We'd be glad to answer them and glad to hear it. So as Adam said, we started this a few years ago, and our goal at the time was that we wanted to improve the way we deliver our data to our customers. As Adam mentioned, we do a lot of reporting and we also do a lot of data sharing. The challenge with improving that process is that our customers are very diverse. They cover the whole ag supply chain from farmers to commodity analysts to elevator operators. They cover the whole commodity spectrum. They cover the whole country. We even have users around the world, and they cover the whole sort of data savvy spectrum. Some of them want to just look at the charts that we're making every single week. And on the other end, some of them want to, pipe our data into their statistical transportation models. So we wanted to try to improve our data delivery in a way that met these diverse needs. And I think it's helpful to have a kind of compare and contrast to the different ways that we deliver our data and our content in contrast to the new platform. So what you're seeing here on the left is a screenshot of our grain transportation report, the one that Adam mentioned. As you can see, most of the pages are just a collection of charts and tables. And then on the right, what you're seeing is where we post the data behind these charts and tables to our website. So this is a really a great process. It's a really great report. It has a wide readership, and we get a lot of good feedback on it. But there's a number of ways that we can improve upon this process. For one, all these charts and tables are very static. The data behind these charts are often pretty complicated. There's lots of different ways that you could view it, but we really only get to show one view in the PDF. And while we hope it's the best view, it's definitely not going to be the right one for every single one of those diverse customers. And then on the other side, when we're posting the data to our website, well, we do post Excel files. It's great that we do that, and so it's all there, and you can get it. But we can improve the way that you find it. So as you're seeing on the right, this is all the data sets behind our grain transportation report. But we have a lot of other reports, and we have a lot of other data sets that are behind those reports. So you kind of have to go searching through the website to find them. So an example is if you wanted to look for rate data, you might find the barge rate data here in the grain transportation report, but you wouldn't find all the other rate data that we have at the same time. So there's definitely ways we can improve upon that and improve the ways that we're delivering these Excel files, things like that. And I think you'll see through the platform that we've done that by making our data more open. So open data to us is data that's more usable, more shareable, more discoverable, and more accessible. So more USDA. A little cheesy, but we really like these kind of guiding principles, and I think they also act as a good kind of outline for how I want to talk about the platform today, starting with making our data more usable. So I'm going to jump over to the actual platform now. I'm just in a browser, and anybody can access this page if you just go to agtransport.usda.gov. So everything you'll see that I show you today, you all could access. You don't have to sign in. You don't have to pay anything. It's all free. So it's completely available to the public. And if you go to this page, you'll see the same homepage. You'll see quick links at the top to get to truck, rail, barge, and ocean data. You'll also see that we've posted a lot of how-to information up here. So there's info on like what the platform's about and where you'll find things, like so broad overviews, but there's also a lot of detailed help about like how to do minute things like how to sort a data set or how to create a chart or a map. So I think all that's really helpful in terms of getting started. But at the same time, I think the platform itself is really intuitive. So you might even just skip the help on how to. You'll also see on this page, we've posted some featured content. As Adam mentioned, we've gone through a couple iterations here. We started, the first iteration of the platform was launched in 2019, but then in 2020 and 2021, we did like upgrades to the platform where we added new dashboards, new data sets, new charts and tables and things like that. And so we did our most recent new upgrade in June 2021. So a lot of this is very fresh content. And these things up here are in the featured content are the things that the newest content we think you should take a look at. There's a feature on the platform called stories. Stories they're essentially just a web page, but they're a place for us to bring together like charts and tables and text to tell a story. And so we've kind of taken these stories in two directions. Like one is in the dashboard direction. The idea here is that it's not a lot of text. It's more charts and tables, and it's all data that updates every single week. So you can come back to it frequently and get a quick update into that particular market, whether it's barge or refrigerated trucks or rail or any of these. On kind of the other end, we've taken these stories in the direction of like longer form reports. These kind of tend to update less frequently, maybe monthly, maybe even yearly, and they take they have a lot more text, a lot more context around the data to tell more of a story, to talk more about like how to use the data or what the like interesting things in the data are. So there's a couple of these things that I want to talk about and show you today, a few of them in terms of reports and dashboards. So the first one I'll show you is the refrigerated truck dashboard. So this one I think is really cool. If you're familiar with truck data, you'll know that truck data is very hard to come by. It's not very available. But what we have here for refrigerated trucks, this comes from AMS's specialty crop program. We have refrigerated truck rates and availability and volumes all in one place. So it's a cool thing to see, like right here in the beginning, like rates are really high. They've gone up a bunch over the past past year or so. And then you can see it on the right chart too. This is a seasonal chart. I'll close this seasonal chart. So each year, each line on the chart is a year, and then each point on the line is a month. So this blue line here is showing 2021, and you can see that rates in 2021 are for refrigerated trucks are significantly higher than they've been in prior years. And so I'm not a truck expert, but I suspect that's a lot of the ongoing supply chain issues. You know, that like that as general trucks have been in more demand and less supply, that's pushed over into the refrigerated truck markets too and raised their rates. So what's so cool about the platform is not that just we can provide these kinds of charts, but you can start interacting with any of the charts that are here. So from here, we can start filtering this data down to, you know, specific origins or destinations or whatever fields are in the data set that we're looking at. So in this case, like maybe let's look at California. Like if you're a shipper in California, you might be interested in California specific rates. So we just click that filter, and now we see the California specific rates only, and we see like it looks like they've maybe gone up even more than elsewhere than the national average. So it's really cool how quickly you can start like slicing and dicing the data in tons of different ways and in the ways that are more relevant to you individually. So we've got more truck data here, like in terms of availability. We see that availability has gone up along with rates. We also see availability by region, so we can see like which regions are the most and least available. Sorry, I should have also said 5 up here is a shortage. So availability has gone up, but that's actually more of a shortage, which fits with the supply chain issues. And then we see truck volume data here. So you can see like August was really quite low. And again, I suspect that was supply chain issues going on. So what's so cool about it is that just really quickly you get this overview of truck data that stays up to date every single week, but then you can start filtering this down to the things that are relevant to you. So I think that's a good example of kind of broad overview of the platform. The next one I want to show you that might be relevant to you is the rail service metrics dashboard, agricultural rail service metrics. So this one's cool because I think it just highlights sort of the power of the platform and just like the ease of use. This data comes from the Surface Transportation Board. They collect this every single week from each of the railroads, and then they post it to their website. And it's a really cool data set. It's got a lot of stuff in there. I think the only problem is they just don't make it the easiest to use if you want to start viewing this data and using it, like analyzing it. So what we've done is we downloaded this data and we post it up every single week and put it into this story. So there's a lot of service metrics in here. I won't go into all of them, but they all follow the same kind of pattern of showing those seasonal charts. And you can see here, like this is showing grain car loadings. We can see grain car loadings have been really low in the past couple of weeks, but then actually they've shot up even most recently back to even potentially above average levels. We have the same data for fertilizer. So you can see like the effect of the hurricane here in the red there as barge shipments got disrupted. Sorry, rail shipments got disrupted. We have other ag products, food and kindred, grain mill products, and then we post like a number of non-ag products as well in this story. So we have like all non-ag movements by rail. We have intermodal movements, so that'll definitely be relevant in the supply chain issues. And then we also put coal and petroleum up here. So if you remember back to like the 2013, 2014 rail crisis, part of what was going on there was like there was more coal and petroleum coming back on the rail system, and that was, you know, competing with ag for space, and there are a bunch of service issues that arose. And so being able to keep track of the coal and petroleum carloads is pretty neat. But again, you're not limited to the charts that we post here. So all of the Surface Transportation Board rail service metrics are up here. So if you want to look at any of these other commodities, like let's say motor vehicles and equipment, it's kind of an interesting one. You can quickly filter down to see those carloads over time. And you can see like the effect of in 2020, the pandemic here on motor vehicles was just this huge drop. And then you can see more recently that they've recovered, but not not completely. So there's lots of service metrics on this page. I won't go into all of them. We have train speeds, cars online, dwell times. That's like how long is your train going to sit at the origin yard before it gets moving. Cars that haven't moved. The ones I wanted to show you down here just to really drive the point home is this grain cars loaded and billed, and then this manifest grain car order fulfillment metrics. So we really like this order fulfillment metric. It basically shows, when a shipper comes and puts in an order with the railroad, like how many orders does the railroad have outstanding that it hasn't actually fulfilled. So it really shows up when there's a lot of service issues going on, and you can see like over the winter there was some big problems for the railroads where their backlog was building up, but that they've since mostly recovered, which is good. What's cool about this data set is that there's this for the order fulfillment data specifically, and those loaded and billed ones I just mentioned a second ago, they're actually all at the state level. So we have a ton of granularity to this data, and it's really easy to just start diving down to specific states. So Kansas might be interesting because they have some of the intermodal issues that we've heard about there. And so we can quickly look and see what the backlog's like in Kansas City, and we can see like it wasn't quite as bad during the winter times, but they are spiking up more recently. So this might be something worth just keeping an eye on over the next couple of weeks. So if you think about that, it's 50 states every week. When we just post a single report, it's really hard to capture all of the different aspects of that data in that way. It's really neat how here you're able to just quickly dive down to like the state that's relevant to you. So the next one I wanted to show you is our barge dashboard. This one is by one of our analysts, Matt Chang. And I think what Matt's done a really good job on this one is a couple of things. It highlights like how we can keep building and improving the platform over time. So we in 2019, when we first launched the platform, we put our barge data up here and had one barge dashboard. But then Matt, over the past year or so, has worked with the Army Corps to get an even more like wider scope data set and more granular data set than we ever had before. And so that was part of our June update. The other thing that this dashboard shows is it's kind of a cool blend between like the dashboard approach, where you get like weekly data and quick updates into the data every single week, but like you also get the bigger picture context kind of story along with the data as well. So it shows like a snapshot of the latest data in terms of like barge movements, then also barge rates. But then like after that snapshot, he dives down like deeper into the rate issue, how to understand barge rates. So you can see that like barge rates over the past couple of weeks have been quite high. I think a big part of that, again, I'm not a barge expert either, I mostly do rail, but I think a lot of this was the hurricane going on there, and it started coming back down recently. He dives down into movements more. And then, so what was so cool in the update is that Matt worked with the Army Corps to get a lot more river and lock data than we ever had before. So he fleshed out this story to be about the specific river segments. So you get the upper Mississippi River, you have the Illinois River, Ohio and Arkansas. And then we also have the Columbia River here too, which is really cool because before we just had sort of aggregate data that we disaggregated a bit now, but we never had anything on the Columbia River. So this is a really cool upgrade to the platform that might be relevant to people in that part of the country. The last thing to show is just that he's ended with waterborne commerce data. And so this is again, out of work with Army Corps, but he's made this data available at a more granular level than we have before. And so while this only updates annually, it's cool because it shows kind of a bigger picture view than some of the other data sets do. So for instance, these two charts show the top origins and destinations. So obviously like the big destination for barges is Louisiana, at the end of the river, but there are some like Alabama destinations. So what's cool about the platform again is that you can dive down and start seeing these like, what are the origins that terminate in Alabama? So it's cool that you get this weekly update that also he's provided this bigger picture overview and really good data. Let's see. Okay, sorry, I need to hide the meeting control so I can click the tabs. So just two more stories to show you to I think drive home a couple of these points. This one is our role of rail and ag transportation. This one's really cool because it's all based on the public waybill data. So if you're familiar with the public waybill data, you know it's really hard to work with. If you're not familiar with it, the waybill data is just a sample of all rail shipments that happen in a year, and includes a ton of attributes of that shipment, like where it came from, like what kind of car it was in, those sorts of things. And then the STB makes a public version of it available on their website. But it's super hard to use. So it's big, and it takes a lot of like knowledge to be able to even load it up. So it's not the kind of data set that the average person could just start using very easily. And even if you are like the savvy data analyst who could work with it, if you just wanted to answer like a simple question, like where is stuff going from one part of the country to the other over time, that's going to take you hours to answer that question if you don't already have sort of the pipeline built up. So what we've done is kind of like remove those fixed costs by uploading this on the platform and enabled everybody to be able to just interact with this public waybill data. So the story is all built around like how ag fits into the rail system and how trends in ag have changed over time, like in terms of distances and car sizes and things like that. I definitely encourage you to look at it, but I'll just show you a couple things here. So an example is that like we're looking at the top 10 ag commodities by car loadings. And you can see like corn, wheat, and soybeans, definitely the top ones, but then you also see some of the byproducts, lumber, corn syrup, things like that. And what's so cool is that like you can now filter this by like the origin BEA area, the termination BEA area. So you could look at like origin destination pairs and volumes between there. And again, like sort of like with the rail service metrics, you're not stuck with just ag. If you wanted to look at this for other non-ag commodities, you could filter those out of here too, or into here, which is really pretty crazy, in my opinion. It's very cool. The other thing to show you on this page is just that the platform is very interoperable. So we made some maps here that show where the different grain commodities move on the rail system in a year. And you can see like corn, lots going out that northern corridor, lots going to California, Mexico. So pretty neat. And you can switch here to see wheat or soybeans or all ag commodities. Very cool. This was all built in Esri, even though I actually think the platform itself could handle this data, but at the time we didn't know it. So we built it in Esri's ArcGIS. And what's neat is that through the platform, we're able to embed like other types of visualizations, in this case Esri, but we could also do it with Tableau or whatever else. So it's cool that we're able to kind of take advantage of the different strengths of these different platforms. So the last story to show you all that I think you'll find relevant for a couple of reasons is this U.S. agricultural port profile. So this is by one of our analysts, April Taylor. So this is a cool story for a couple of reasons. One is it's a great like compare and contrast story compared to like the PDF version that we used to do. The other reason it's great is just the data itself. April's worked with the data source provider to provide a more granular view of some of the peers' port data than we've ever been able to make publicly available before. So I definitely encourage you to check this out and explore through it. The way that this used to work was that we would make a PDF, a giant PDF with a section for each port, and then within each port section, it would have dozens of charts for that port. So you can imagine it's a giant PDF. It's a really great information, so people really like it, but at the same time, it can be a bit unwieldy, both to use and definitely to make. What's cool about this story then is it just makes all of that same information available through just the click of a button. So April's designed this to start with just some like introductory information, like looking at the top import and export ports, breaking down the ports by like containerized versus bulk shipments, by refrigerated versus dry, and then like the top ag commodities. But the cool part to show you down here is this, what's called this like general filter feature. So this actually was on the rail service metrics page too, but I'll show you it here. You'll see there's like 5 or 6 charts down here. This one that's breaking down bulk versus container shares, top commodities. This is like the top destinations by month, so you can get a kind of seasonal picture, and then the top bulk and containerized foreign country, whether import or export foreign country. And so what's really neat about this is you'll notice that this general filter has followed us all the way down here. So instead of having to find that section in the PDF reports, you can just come in here and click the port that you're interested in. So we can look at New York, we can see the top destinations for New York, and we could look at, say, imports into New York, and we could see like that it's a lot of beverages, wine, beer, grocery items. Sort of makes sense. And then we can see like the top destinations for bulk and well, this is imports, top originations for bulk and containerized. So pretty cool, I think, how easy it is to just start slicing and dicing all this data. And the thing is, like I said, this is a pretty granular data set. This story doesn't even quite get at how many different ways we can look at this data. So I encourage you to check this story out, but I also encourage you to dig a little bit further into this data, and I can show you exactly how to do that. So what I actually want to show you is use a different visualization, because I already have it open here. So we saw before this barge grain rates chart showing that rates are high. But let's say that you looked at this chart and you said, oh, so I really like these stories, I really like the interactivity of these stories. It's definitely making our data more usable, but I want to see a different chart than the one that you guys have posted here. What's cool is that you can start building your own stuff on the platform. So with just a click through this chart, it'll first take you to like a chart page, and I'll show you this, talk about this in just a minute. But with one more click, it'll take you through to the datasets metadata page. So thinking in terms of like making our data more usable, in my opinion, as an analyst, the best feature of this platform is the metadata pages. These pages are just a place where we can provide like a bunch of information about the data itself. So in this case, we have like an overview of this barge rates data set, and for example, like in the barge industry, they don't talk about barge rates in terms of dollars. It's in terms of a % of the tariff. And so this describes like how to, if you're not familiar with that, how to interpret that data and maybe how to get back into dollars if you wanted to. We can provide information about how this data is used on the platform. So we already saw this barge dashboard in one of these charts, but there's another one that could be worth looking at that we think is cool. We provide information on like when it's updated, the time periods that are covered, the units. So it's weekly data. And this one, it's a little different than the new data that Matt's added, but this one covers the Mississippi River system. And then the last thing to show you is that we can provide column definitions for all the columns in the data. So there's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing worse as an analyst when you find a data set that you think is really interesting and that you want to use, and then you don't know what the columns mean. And so this page gives us an opportunity to provide, real descriptive definitions of what's going on in this data and how to use each of these columns, what they mean. So we definitely think the metadata is making our data more usable along with those stories. But let's say that now you know how the data works, and so you want to make a visualization yourself. Well, you can just click create visualization from this page, and it'll take you to a visualization builder page. And I'm gonna pause for just a second and note this warning or question prompt. It's asking, do we want to sign in? And as I said in the beginning, you don't have to sign in to do anything on this platform that we're doing today. So we can click no thanks. But I do want to mention that you can sign into the platform. You just need an email. And if you do sign in, you can save all of your work. So you can save your visualizations that you create. And as we'll see later, you can save like your views of the data. And the benefit of that is that then, as we update the data over time, you don't have to redo your work to see the latest stuff. You just come back in, sign into your account and see your chart, and it'll have all the latest information there. It's pretty cool. So I'm gonna ignore that for now because I don't need to save. And I just want to show you it's really easy to create charts. So we wanted to see, let's just say a line chart of rates over time. So super easy to do, just a couple of clicks, and we can see those barge rates over time. You can add your own filters, like if we missed one of the filters that you thought was relevant or you wanted to look at something specific, you can do that. Super easy to start making charts. And there's a lot of charts that you can make on the platform too. There's bar charts, column charts, pie charts, histograms, scatter plots. and even maps. So the mapping thing is really cool. This data set actually doesn't have any geocoding in it, so we can't make maps from it, but we do have geocoded data on the platform, and then you can pretty easily make some maps. To me, that's a really cool feature because I think of like mapping as like the, it's like the purview of like GIS specialists. You have to be like a sophisticated analyst to be able to do it. But as long as the data is geocoded, anybody can start making some simple maps, which is really pretty cool, I think. So thinking back in terms of that acronym, the USDA acronym, we're making our data more usable, I think, through the stories, interactive stories, through the metadata, and through this visualization feature where you can easily start making charts and viewing the data however you want really quickly. Moving on to shareability. So data on the platform is really easy to share. So it could be a chart like this one that we've made, or it could be a chart that you've made. So when you create an account and you save your work, you do have the option to publish that, and it'll be available on the website through a unique link. And so then from there, you'll have a page just like this for your visualization that you can then easily share. If you click this share button here, it'll bring up a unique link to get back to this visualization. So you can send that to your colleagues. You can also get embed codes. So this makes it really easy to share your chart, say, on social media, or to put it on your website. So as an example of this, we've seen some of our customers who write like weekly ag transportation newsletters. They've written, say, like a truck rate article. And what they do is that they'll just copy this embed code and embed it into the story itself. So contrast that with what you had to do before. You would have had to go and download our data from Excel, or hopefully make your chart in Excel or whatever software you wanted to use, get some kind of image from it, and then upload that image to your website, and write your story around the image, and then within a week, your image is out of date. Now, all you have to do is just copy paste this into the article, and you get this interactive chart. Looks like this one. So interactive, just like all the other ones on the platform, you have the same features, and it stays up to date over time. So it's better for their readers. They get a more powerful charting function than just a static image, but also it's good for us too. We get traffic back to our site from this view source data link, and so people become, it makes it much easier to like share information about our data. People just become more aware of it over time, which is a really good thing in my opinion. So I think that all makes the data much more shareable. We also think the data is much more discoverable on the platform. So if you think back to that screenshot I showed in the beginning, if you wanted to find something, you're going to have to click through our website to find the data set that you were interested in, whether it was the barge rates or some refrigerated truck data. You're going to have to go to the specific report and scroll to find that specific data set. Now, everything on the platform is listed in this data catalog. So you might have noticed this blue bar at the top that kind of follows you around through most of the site. And there's a link to the data catalog at the top on that blue bar. It'll take you to this page, just like I said, a big interactive list of everything on the platform. You can filter it by mode. So if you wanted to just look at barge data, you can easily find that. You can filter it by type. So if you just want to look at data sets, that's easy. If you just want to look at stories, you can look at that. And then we've also provided some tags in here. So if you're interested in like performance data, we've tried to capture like other aspects of the data through these tags. And then last, you can just search, keyword search at the top. So if you're interested in rate data, you just type rates and it'll bring up all of our rate data. So what's cool about that is like maybe you were looking for vessel rates, but at the same time, you find all of the other rate data that we have available, maybe that you weren't looking for, but might still be relevant to you. It's pretty cool. So we think this data catalog is making our data way more discoverable than it had ever been before. So the last aspect of the platform to talk about is accessibility. So I'm going to just jump back real quick to this metadata page where that one went, and show you there are a couple links here to just easily from this page go to start exporting and connect to the API, which I'll talk about in a second. But what I want to show you is this view data link here. If you click view data, it'll take you to a data page. Looks a lot like a spreadsheet, like a flat file. So it should be familiar to most people, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do on this page that might be useful to you. One is that you can filter the data. So if you were interested, in this case, we're looking at the barge rates data. If you were only interested in St. Louis rates, you could easily filter all the other ones out to just keep it to St. Louis. You can also roll up, like aggregate the data. So if you wanted to look at like an average per month, or you wanted to look at the average by location, you can do all that in this roll up functionality. And then again, this is just like the visualizations where you can save all of your work here. So if you go through and filter and aggregate to the table that you want, and you sign in, you can just hit save. And then as we update the data, your custom view of the data will always stay up to date as well, which is pretty cool. And then whether it's one of our tables or whether it's one of your custom views, we can export the data in a lot of different formats, CSV or JSON, XML. And if we're looking at geospatial data, you can export it in geospatial formats too. So a lot more formats than just the Excel that we otherwise provide. Every data set's also connected through an OData endpoint. So if you're not familiar with this, it's a really cool feature if you use something like Excel or Tableau to do analysis. Probably other ones too. Those are just the two that I'm familiar with. In Excel, instead of downloading the data from our site, like in a CSV that we just saw, and then opening that in Excel, all you need to do is just give Excel, just paste in this link, and Excel will import the data set right into your workbook or into your Tableau workbook. And what's cool about that is then you just have to hit refresh or reopen the workbook, and it'll always have the latest data in there. So all the work that you do in Excel or in Tableau will always just update with the latest information. It's crazy convenient. The other thing to mention too is that every data set comes with an API endpoint. So it's similar to OData, but it's a little more complicated. The API makes it really easy to programmatically access the data. So if you are like a statistical analyst and you want to get this data straight into your statistical pipeline or your analytical software, whatever, R or Python, something like that, the API will be really easy to use. It's an easy to use API, and it's also really powerful. It's not, if you're familiar, it's not on like a SQL query where you can do all of these same filtering, keeping only the rows that you want, aggregating and things like that, paging through the data, all right here in the API. It opens up the door to cell phones and web apps. And so we have a number of customers that are like sort of like Bloomberg type data aggregators that will connect to these APIs and bring in data for their customers. So it's very cool how it just facilitates that kind of connectivity for all of our data. So we think this page and the export functionalities, the filtering functionalities, makes our data way more accessible than it's ever been before. So all of those things, to just summarize, is that we think through like the interactivity of the stories, through the visualizations and metadata, and through the sharing, the data catalog, and through the export functionality. I think we're making our data way more usable, shareable, discoverable, and accessible. And we think we're adding a lot of value for our customers to the data that we provided in the past. Like I said in the beginning, we're really excited about this. We think it's a very cool product, and we're excited to hear your feedback on it and to answer any questions that you have. Thanks.
So Jesse, thanks for that demo. That was great. And we had 2 questions come in. I'll start with the first one here. What are some of the logistical challenges with collecting this data and reporting it? And then it says, I'm specifically looking at the refrigerated truck report last dated 4th quarter 2020. So I'm guessing sort of like, I think we have more frequent or more up-to-date data on this portal than we do in our actual published publications.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I guess just in general, like the logistical challenges of collecting this data, because we have a lot of different data sources, government, directly ourselves, subscriptions that we use to some of this. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I would say in general, there's a lot of logistical challenge to collecting the data at all, sort of separate from the platform. And so from that perspective, the platform itself has been a relative, like a marginal improvement over the data collection that we were always doing. So we have a team of people that's making phone calls for some of our data to shippers around the country. We collect data from a variety of different sources, some of which is like the phone calls, probably the most manual, but some of it we get through email, some of it we go and just pull it off a website, some of it we just download through scripts. So it kind of covers the whole spectrum of logistical difficulties. But then for the platform itself, it was really just a matter of kind of writing some scripts that will just take the data we already have and upload it to the platform. And actually the platform makes it very easy to do that, which is cool. And then like a good example of that is that the refrigerated truck report that you're talking about is behind, and we are working on getting the publication out, the PDF publication out right now to catch up on a couple of those quarters. At the same time, we do have the refrigerated truck weekly data is up here on the platform, up to date every single week. So it's an improvement over that prior process, both in terms of timeliness, but it's also weekly, and sometimes for some of the daily data that in the past we had only posted at the quarterly level. So the platform has given us an opportunity to provide a much more frequent and more like in-depth data set than we'd ever been able to in the past. So in that way, it's sort of like removed the logistical challenges, I think, of getting that data out there.
I'll add to that, Jesse. I guess one of our visions or dreams is like if we could just do away with PDFs completely and just have them sort of live on this this portal right here through these reports customized by the user. But I think that's maybe a little bit science fiction and also a little hard to transition to practically at this point in time. But you know. Second question we got was in regards to ag rail data. The destination car unload totals have been referenced as not being complete in reported data. Are some rail lines not reporting? And if so, is it possible to identify who?
Is that Adam, does that sound like the rail to port data?
That could be, yeah.
So we might need to follow up on that question. I'm actually not, even though I do rail, normally I don't actually do that specific data set. One of our other analysts, Johnny Hill, he's the one that collects that and posts it and everything. So I'm not actually sure who is reporting and who's not reporting in that data set. We'd have to ask Johnny.
And the clarification was, yes, this was regarding rail to port data, which is something we continue looking at, making sure we have the best data. But yeah.
Yeah, I do think that data set is not a complete, it's definitely not comprehensive. We don't have all the data, but I do think we get a decent sample of data from around the country.
That was the last question that's come into me. If there's no other questions, I will just read the final little bit here for the closeout sort of housekeeping points, but feel free to type in any questions in the meantime. I know we have a few minutes left here, actually about 10 minutes left. So you'll be emailed an evaluation form link on Friday. Please give us your feedback. We welcome your comments and suggestions for improvements. At the conclusion of this session, we'll have a 10-minute break, then the second breakout sessions will begin. Breakout sessions are separate webinars with new links to join, so these session links can be found at the bottom of your registration email or on page 7 of the data users booklet email to all registrants. Links have also been added to the chat window. I see Marissa just added them right now. So we appreciate everyone for coming today. Like Jesse said, we're really excited about this platform. I think it's importance, relevance to the work we do has only grown over time, and we're continuing to see how this can continually unlock more secrets and data secrets and functionality that we've never even thought about in the first place. And we're continuing to build on that, and there's a lot of forward momentum on this. We hope to continue to grow and expand this and future expansions, but right now there's, like just said, there's a wealth of data on here from so many different sources, and we would encourage you to just to go look through there and And feel free to reach out to us afterwards if you have questions, and maybe a little overwhelming at this point, but please look at it and let us know if there's anything we can help do to clarify or further your understanding. And thank you all for attending today. We're happy to share our product with you.
Yeah, thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out directly to any of us. We'd be glad to help.